Today's horror manga begins on a quiet little street illuminated by an elegant red sky. The red-tinted beams of light shine on our protagonist, who seems to be worried about something, as he presses his two palms to the side of his head and sweat drips unrelentingly down his brow, toward his cheeks and down his neck. The man approaches a middle-aged lady on the street and speaks. That? The lady is baffled by the incomprehensible things that he says. The man continues to utter, "I'm really sorry, but can you help me?" Huh? What? My head is... But their conversation is cut short when interrupted by a man in the distance who screams, "Come and buy, come over here, freshly cut red snappers here." Trying to illustrate the quality of his product, the merchant dons a knife, raising it up into the air, then puncturing through the head of a fish and slicing it whole. Today's horror manga dub in narration is Red Turtleneck by Junji Ito. You won't want to miss the reason why this boy is so paranoid and anxious. If you enjoy the story at any point in time, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Anyways, let's continue on with this eerie tale. Our story continues as the boy wanders around in a peculiar, yet meticulous way, traveling towards some sort of location. Stay frosty, easy does it, slowly, step by step, hands are turning numb. Sonika, he utters as he approaches an apartment complex, walking up the stairs and toward a unit. As he bumps his foot against the door, "Come out of there now, please." As the door slowly opens, he is greeted by a youthful young girl. However, she does not seem too pleased to see him. She gives him a cold greeting and states, "Why are you even back here, Tomio? Quick, save me, Sonika. It's all my fault." "What's the point of saying this now? Go back to that woman, why don't you? Please, forgive me. Save me, Sonika. I don't want to die. Tomio, is this another one of your silly jokes? I've had about enough of them. 3 days ago. Tomio, I'm so sick of you cheating behind my back. I will not tolerate this anymore. Get out of here. I'm breaking up with you. Why don't you just go ahead and be with that woman?" "You know what? I will. Compared to you, she's a much more charismatic beauty. Goodbye," he says as he slams the door behind him. She stands there begrudgingly, clenching her hands into fists. That woman. It's all her fault. It all started when Tomio and I visited a fortune-telling booth to get our fortune told. That woman, she captivated Tomio's heart. Your love lives are one of the worst I've ever seen, and you're likely to break up very soon. What are you saying? But the fortune teller simply stares into Tomio's eyes, her pale complexion untouched by any signs of aging or blemishes, and her red velvet lips seem to pull him into a trance that not even his girlfriend may break. Tomio. Later that day during the night, Tomio lay in a bed beside that fortune teller vixen. She merely chuckled. You still broke up in the end. Yeah, I've been memorized ever since the first time I laid eyes on you. Likewise. Your head is really splendid. Huh? My head? Yes, I've actually fallen for your head. My head? You do say strange things sometimes. The woman continues to chant in a seductive, flirtatious manner. Hey, I want your head. I want your fresh human head. Huh? Fresh head? I want to collect these pretty human heads. Will you give me your fresh human head? I'd be more than willing to comply. I'm so glad you think so. Then, all of a sudden, she plucked a piece of hair from her head, holding it between each index finger and thumb as if it were some sort of strange thread. She tightened the hair around his neck. What are you doing? As she tightens the hair, the grasp begins to come stronger and stronger. Ugh! As he begins to realize that something is not right. Her once angelic countenance is filled with malevolence, as her eyes become bloodshot and saturated with red. Her irises fully consumed by a dark yellow, as the thread around his neck tightens to the point where it almost severs his head from his body. Her devilish eyes stare proudly at her work. Sweat drips down his body, and the pain becomes unbearable, until, finally, he slaps her away and manages to break the thread. Catching his breath, he coughs. Don't you think that was a little overboard? As he grabs the mirror and examines the wound around his neck. Look at this. The mark isn't fading away. How am I supposed to go out like this? You can wear this turtleneck then, she says as she presents a red turtleneck to him, pulling it over his head and around his body. Here. She continues to help him put it on, fixing any wrinkles, any creases, until it's a perfect fit. Look, isn't it fine now? Come with me, I'll show you something interesting. The two of them walk down a dark, dreary hall, decorated with various eccentric statues. Something was not right about this hallway, something otherworldly, as if something sinister loomed over him. What kind of interesting thing? She laughs, as Tomio looks over with concern. There it is, she says as she points down the hallway, revealing a set of silhouettes hanging from the ceiling. Tomio is unable to make out the shapes hidden by the shadows. His vision adjusts. What hung from the ceiling was a set of severed heads, their flesh drooping from their faces, mouth open as if they had screamed right before being ripped from their respective bodies, and their teeth expelling a putrid, rotten odor. Tomio could not believe his very eyes as he shrieked louder and louder, matching the tempo of each quicker footstep backward. The unearthly fortune teller merely laughed, her menacing gaze glued to him as if there was no way to escape. She eyed him up from head to toe as he sprinted, the voices echoing behind him, dancing about the room. When he finally exits the house, her ominous figure watches over him and states, "You can't escape." Not bothering to look back, he runs down an alley until he feels a sharp pain in his neck and begins to sweat profusely. My neck, it feels weird. What's going on? As he pulls down his red turtleneck to determine what is causing the pain around his neck, he notices something tightening around his neck. But how did this... What's wrong? Oops. Here's a tip. The turtleneck has my hair too. As the hair continues to strangle him, blood begins to form, oozing through the material of the turtleneck. My hair strands are stronger than wires. You better hold on to your head, or else your head will start rolling. Eventually, the grasp becomes so tight that he's about to die from asphyxiation until the pressure becomes so much that his neck cracks, literally snapping from the bone. Now, your head has been nicely sliced off. All that's left is the support from your neck. Do stay focused, otherwise you'll be dead when you let your guard down. That woman, she's a demon. She used her hair to sever my head. My head, it's now separated from my body. The cut wounds, they protrude outward. So, if I relax, my nerves and blood vessels will disconnect. So, I'm using all my might to keep my head in position. My head will fall off once I relax. He begins to cry. Even a slight shift of my head position or shaking from my hand will mean certain death. Unable to believe the ridiculousness of his claims, his ex-girlfriend responds, "What silly talk. I will not reconcile with you no matter how you say it." "But it's true. You've got to believe me, right? You can see my wounds, then you'll believe me. Take a look at my wound." She stared intently as she moved her hand closer to his neck, pulling down the turtleneck and revealing the gruesome lacerations around his neck. She cannot believe her very eyes as she takes a second look. My hands, they're reaching their limits," he says as each individual syllable causes blood to splurt out from the crevices. This ungodly sight causes her to scream from her very essence. She backs away as Tomio enters her apartment unit, moving closer and closer toward her. "Help me, Sonoka. Please help me. Save me." No way! Don't come in here!" she yells. "Sonoka, please, I beg of you, save me." As he makes his way into her living room, she pulls out her cell phone and begins to dial. "Hello? Please send an ambulance here. Someone has been beheaded. Please come quickly. I've called the ambulance." "So heavy. Why is my head so heavy?" There are noises coming from the friction between my head and neck. Just a slight move will cause my nerves to snap. My head is turning numb. My legs are shaking too." "Tomio, why don't you sit down first?" As he begins to place his back against the wall and slowly but surely sit down toward the ground. The closer he gets toward the floor, the more his body shake and shamble. He struggles to keep his head upright until he falls down flat on his rump. The momentum of the fall causes his head to bump upward, fully breaking off the nerves and severing his head fully from his body. Sonoka cannot believe her very eyes as she utters undistinguishable words. Tomio presses the head back onto his body, trembling and shaking over and over. Just now for a moment, she too falters and falls to the floor. This kind of death is too agonizing. Hang in there, hang in there. Tomio agonizingly screams from the top of his lungs. Tomio! The ambulance! Tomio, bear with it a little while more. The ambulance is here. We're the rescue team. Please open the door. Just a moment, I'm coming, she says as she opened the door. You are... Where is the rescue team? No help is going to come at all. The ghastly figure go past Sonoka effortlessly, toward Tomio, who tried to keep his head attached to his body. Don't come here, don't come here, he stutters. But she merely pay his words no mind, as she slowly but surely gets closer, grasping his body. What are you trying to do to Tomio? Stop it! Right now! But she lets out a chuckle and then pulls a card from her blouse. A card that says, Death. Whoa, what are you gonna do to me? The frightening demon shoved the card, the death card, in between where the flesh had been hacked off, cleaved from his body. Stop it! But she doesn't listen. She just slowly shoves the card further in between the laceration. All of a sudden, a sharp pain goes throughout his body, a pain more gruesome, more evil than death itself. It seems that there is a nerve still connected here. I can't even feel my hands. The demon has no sort of empathy for him. She cackles and cackles some more, until interrupted by Sonoka, who holds a pan above her head. Quit it! Stay away from Tomio! You better not touch me, Sonoka-chan. One wrong move from you can make his brain spill. Those words cause her to stop right in her tracks, her body paralyzed from the fear of the event. The witch moves her head closer to Tomio and whispers, You're one of the most relentless persons I've ever met, Tomio-san. As unyielding as a cockroach. To deal with pests like you, we'll fight fire with fire. As she holds out a cockroach within her palm, placing it closer toward the crack in his neck. As the cockroach enters within, burrowing inside his skin and forming a nest. Tomio let out a wallop, which words ricocheted about the room and down the apartment hall. Tomio continues to struggle and shriek as the she-devil only but laugh. Ha 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 ha! Keep struggling. Ha 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 ha! Until Sonoka stab a pair of scissors piercing through her veil and into her neck. The witch looks over at her and smiles. You little minx, she squawks as she slowly approaches Sonoka-chan, her hands like talons ready to grab. The coloration from her eyes disappear until they're a pale white. The woman falls over and slams against the floor. Tomio, you gotta remove that cockroach fast. I've already swallowed it. It's alright now. Is that so? I killed her. If only that would remove the curse. Then, just like that, the woman began to sizzle. The two of them cannot believe their eyes as she began to melt, thaw, and resolve herself into a dew. The smoke produced from her body begins to form a set of figures. The figures become more ominous as their faces begin to fill out, and their bodies as well. Something is uncanny about them. This... One of the creatures bellows a word. Dada! Tomio cannot believe what they are saying. they are referring to him as their father. Come on, Daddy. Let's play. No, don't come here. I'm not your daddy. The three childlike devils latch on his body, grasping for his head. No, don't. But it's too late. They pull off his head as it bounces across the floor. Sonoka lets out one final cry. The world outside of the apartment unit do not know of the tears that have consumed their two lives. Sonoka hugs onto him, realizing she still loves him very much. Despite everything he has done to her, she doesn't want him to die. Thankfully, he begins to mumble. Tomio, are you here? Are you with me? Your head and your body, it's together again. You've been saved, Tomio. It's alright now. Those children, they were probably just an illusion. But the truth is, that witch, she existed, and she had severed Tomio's head. And Tomio had struggled to keep his head on. Despite the fact that his head is no longer separated from his body, he still refuses to remove his hands from his head, and is still plagued by the memories of that event. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please don't forget to comment and tell me that you like this format so I know to keep making these type of videos. And don't forget to like and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching everyone, and remember, you're important and you matter. Have a great night everyone. Goodbye.